our guest of the day. I am now joined by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngelale. Good evening to you, Ajuri. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Good evening, my sister, and good evening to all of our esteemed viewers, both here at home and around the world.
Right, let's start this conversation this way. The Nigerian Labour Congress is bent on leading Nigerians out on a protest against the rise in cost of living and alleged non-fulfillment of promises made by the federal government. How do you react to this potentially combustible situation?
Let me first begin by stating very clearly that His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has no greater priority, no greater concern than the plight of every Nigerian family. The President fully recognizes that this is a time of tremendous hardship, where we have obviously the rising cost of energy, obviously the rising cost of food items, and the relative stagnation of wages. The President is acutely aware of what Nigerian families have been facing over the course of the last several weeks and months, and is determined to do everything in his power to ameliorate those conditions and to provide succor to those families. And that's why we are very clear in our position that what the Nigerian Labour Congress is attempting to do is not in the spirit of finding a solution that will ultimately matter to Nigerian families and impact on Nigerian families. What we want to avoid is a situation in which a labor union who had previously come out in favor of a particular presidential candidate during the elections would now seek to leverage on the legitimate concerns and hardships being faced by our people to potentially achieve a political agenda. We are saying that any labor union that is speaking to the concerns of Nigerian families, speaking to the pains that are being felt by our people, are absolutely in order to do so. It is absolutely right to speak to the fact that Nigerians are in a difficult situation. And of course, government has been doing its part to do everything possible to ameliorate those conditions. But we want to separate the legitimate concerns being expressed by some of the labor unions. We want to separate that from what we believe and what we have intelligence to prove is an attempt to leverage on some of the conditions in the country to achieve a political agenda. And so clearly today we have seen the Trade Union Congress pull out of the purported nationwide protest that is being backed by the NLC. We have seen the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, come out today and pull out from that nationwide protest being backed by the NLC. And obviously over the course of several days, it's been difficult to count how many civil society organizations and labor unions have already backed out of that effort. I think at last count it was well over 65. So it is clear that there is no unanimity behind what the NLC is attempting to do, because I believe all of the legitimate concerns being raised by the labor unions are being tackled head-on by the administration of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I want to be very clear and detailed about how we have done so. You would recall that when the labor unions met with the delegation, with the team of the federal government, representing the federal government, there were a few stipulations that were agreed to with respect to what government needed to do to meet the aspirations and conditions that were brought by the labor unions. Some of them include, obviously, the completion of the Harcourt Refinery, and obviously a further advancement in work on the Kaduna and Warri refineries. I can report to the nation tonight that as of now, the over 450,000 barrels of crude oil have been delivered to the Harcourt Refinery by Shell alone. We know that the mechanical upstart of that refinery has commenced, and we are expecting first production approximately within the month of April. Right now, phase one has been completed, as you'd recall, in the Port Harcourt refinery with a total refining capacity of about 210,000 barrels per day. We currently have phase one, which deals with the old refinery. That's about 60,000 barrels per day capacity. And then, of course, the new refinery that was built in 1989 as against the old refinery that was built in 1965 has the capacity of about 150,000 barrels per day. So we have completed phase one. That is the old refinery from 1965 that has the 60,000 barrels per day capacity. Obviously, back to about 90% capacity utilization. We can do about 54,000 barrels per day as of now within phase one. By the end of this year, we will be unveiling the completion of phase two, meaning that out of the initial the total 210,000 barrels per day capacity of the Port Harcourt refinery, we'll be doing about 195,000 barrels per day by the end of this year. In PMS terms, phase one, you're looking at about 2.2 million liters per day out of phase one. But by the time phase two comes on stream by the end of this year, we're going to be doing about 10 million liters of refined petroleum motor spirit by the end of the year. So we have kept our commitment clearly with respect to refinery rehabilitation. If you look at Kaduna, by the end of this year, the 110,000 barrels per day capacity of Kaduna will be on stream. We can do about 90% capacity utilization out of that, so we're looking at just less than 100,000 barrels per day, which equates to about 5 million liters of refined PMS per day coming out of Kaduna by the end of this year. And then, of course, the Warri refinery being duly rehabilitated alongside the Kaduna refinery by Daewoo Technologies. That is also a 125,000 barrels per day capacity facility that will allow us to roll out about 110,000 barrels per day, approximately another 5 million liters per day from Warri to join with the 5 million liters from Kaduna to now join with the 10 million liters per day refined PMS coming out of Port Harcourt, both phases, by the end of this year. I think the labor unions fully understand that this is not business as usual, that the progressive administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu means business. When it sits at the table and it comes to an agreement, it's going to fulfill its end of the agreement. And we are not saying what cannot be verified. We are saying what can be verified by any news network in the country or abroad by just touring those facilities. We took the media to those facilities. They have seen the work that's going on there. They have seen the deliveries of crude to those refineries so they know we're serious. Now, that deals with the refinery aspect of the agreement with the NLC. If you want to look at what we agreed to with respect to MSM interventions, that is, interventions agreed to by the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu with respect to the support we're going to give to micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises across all states of our federation. What he has done so far is we have 50 billion naira that has already started issuance from Access Bank, essentially providing loan facilities of between 1 million and 3 million naira to hundreds of thousands of MSMEs. That is going to ensure that we can get capital into the hands of cash-strapped MSMEs today. Already, we have seen the rollout of that, so the funds are already being dispersed. That's not something that is going to be in abeyance. In addition to that, we have another 75 billion naira that's being issued out by the Bank of Industry by the approval of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that is already started in issuance. That is a single-digit interest rate facility that is going to be going to hundreds of thousands of micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises across all states of our federation. Combined between the 50 billion from Access Bank and the 75 billion from the Bank of Industry, you have 125 billion that is going to be going straight into the hands of over 500,000 micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises across every state of our federation. So we have lived up to that stipulation of the agreement, which the NLC knows very well if they were not interested in politics and if they were interested in facts that deal with the concerns of our people. In addition to that, I think it's important for us to also mention the fact that the President has approved the payment of the wage awards that were agreed to by the team that represented the federal government in negotiation with the labor unions a few months ago. It would be recalled that it was agreed that that a wage award of 35,000 naira would be paid monthly over a series of months to all federal workers. That has been issued, and the payment of those wage awards have been ongoing. So there's really not a lot that the NLC, if it's being sincere with our people, that they would point to with respect to the inability of the federal government to live up to its commitments. We have lived up to every letter of it, and we will continue to inform our people of every effort that we're going to make moving forward. And I also want to say, with respect to MSME intervention, I've laid out already what is currently being offered to MSMEs across our nation. That does not include what is coming up within the next 30 days, which is going to include the presidential grant scheme that has been approved by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to ensure that 1,000 micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises in every single local government area of the Federation, that is 1,000 MSMEs in each of the nation's 774 local governments, will be receiving a grant. This is money that is not a loan. It is a grant, meaning that they do not have to pay this money back. But 1,000 MSMEs in every local government area of the Federation will be receiving a grant of 50,000 naira over the course of the next 30 days. In addition to that, the President has approved an additional 150 billion that's totally separate from the other portfolios of intervention that I've mentioned, to be issued through SMEDAN and the Bank of Industry, essentially providing two categories of loans. One deals with micro, small, medium-scale enterprises, which is going to be 75 billion dedicated to MSMEs, providing a single-digit interest rate loan facility with a moratorium of approximately, of a loan tenor of about 3 years, of up to 1 million per MSME across all local government areas of the Federation. In addition to that, and finally, on the MSME intervention issue, we have 75 billion that has been approved graciously by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that's going to be dedicated to manufacturers. Why manufacturers? Because the President has clearly identified manufacturing as a labor-intensive sector where we can get the most bang for our buck with respect to interventions we will make that will impact the greatest quantum of Nigerian families. So he is providing a single-digit interest rate loan over a 5-year loan tenor to thousands of over 75 manufacturers to the tune of 1 billion naira each. These are large-scale manufacturers that are employing thousands of Nigerians, within their companies. We're going to ensure that those large-scale manufacturers have significant help, not just to continue to maintain existing payrolls, but also to expand their operations and enhance job creation at a time when our people are desperately looking for succor. So whether it is refinery rehabilitation, whether it is MSME intervention, whether it is the wage award, for federal workers, in view of the ongoing work that is being done by the minimum wage committee set up by the federal government, what we have agreed to the labor unions, we have been actively and carefully carrying it out. And I think there's one more element that I think is worth mentioning. You would recall that before the suspension of the Honorable Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, and before those programs were put on hold as a result of ongoing investigations, we had successfully issued out direct digital cash transfers to over 3.1 million indigent households across all states of the Federation, including the families of pensioners and widows. So we have been at work on this. The reform of the social investment programs is ongoing, and I believe that there will be more to report on that during the course of this program. But I say all of this to point out the fact that the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been absolutely committed to living up to every aspect of the agreement it signed with the labor unions. And we believe that any labor union that is acting in the interest of the Nigerian people and acting in good faith will abide by that agreement and ensure that it continues to be implemented to the letter as it has been, rather than any nefarious attempt to achieve any political objective on the back of truly hurting Nigerian families.
All right. I mean, you've really said a lot, but is there a chance the government will be able to stop Labour from pressing on with this protest?
Well, look, we are a nation of laws. We are a constitutional democracy that respects the rule of law. It is no secret that the NLC is acting in a direct and overt breach of a subsisting court order with respect to this purported street protest they wish to conduct. I think there's no doubt about that. I think that I believe that if you look at the quantum of support that they have lost on the issue of this street protest, it becomes very clear that those responsible labor unions and CSOs who understand what the current dynamics are and understand the extent to which the federal government has lived up to its agreement with labor, that they're pretty isolated in terms of how they're intending to go about their current action. I think we'll see how things play out here in short order.
All right, so let's talk about this recent development, which is the president's decision to implement the Steve Oronsaye report. Why is this particularly significant?
It's certainly significant in view of the fact that His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is widely known to be a man of his word. When he says he's going to cut down on the cost of governance, and we've seen several measures he has taken, even within the presidency, to bring down the cost of administration across the federal government, this is another one where he has demonstrated the political will that previous administrations had lacked with respect to the implementation of the Oronsaye report. I think his effort is not some, blanket cut down on the size of administration at the federal level. He has taken a very surgical and calculated and careful approach to see where we have duplicating functions amongst agencies and departments of federal ministries, and where we can reform those, not just to cut down on the cost of administration, but also to position our federal MDAs to more effectively execute on its policy objectives in keeping with the attainment of the key performance indicators that had been agreed by the federal MDAs under his leadership through the Office of the Special Advisor to the President on Policy and Coordination. So there are a lot of elements to this, but what I can say is that today at the Federal Executive Council, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu approved that dozens of federal MDAs in approximately 12 different ministries, not including the Office of the Vice President, not including the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, not including other constitutional bodies such as the Bureau of Public Enterprises and others, have been affected by this exercise. Now, ultimately, when we rationalize these agencies, we're not necessarily looking at mass retrenchment. We are not necessarily looking at putting a further burden on Nigerian families who are currently grappling with the challenges associated with the very necessary reforms we have put in place that have caused short-term pain for long-term gain. I think what we are focused on, however, is ensuring that where we have agencies with obviously their CEOs with their retinue of aides and their retinue of staff members, that where possible, we're going to try and bring down, the rate at which we are expending public resources on the recurrent side and rededicate those resources to the capital side. Ultimately, we want our money to be chasing growth. We do not want our money to be chasing redundancy. We want our money to be chasing productivity. We don't want our money to be chasing anything that is unproductive. And that is the mode and belief of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but it is not by words. Today, Nigerians see clearly that it is by action.
All right, Mr. Ngelale, let's go on a break. And when